Welcome, everyone, to this Standing Committee of Justice and Human Rights. It's wonderful to see the interest in our committee. C'est grandement apprécié de voir tout le monde qui est ici.
We appreciate seeing so many people here today.
In the House of Commons, because a lot of people watch question period and they only see the interaction of parties at question period where there's a lot of gamesmanship. And this committee actually does really good work. We have worked together on a study on the Court Challenges program that helped bring back the Court Challenges program. We worked together on a legal aid study. We worked together on a study to help Canadian jurors that led to my colleague Mr. Cooper's private members bill that will be coming to committee in another week that will make things easier for jurors to disclose information to a psychotherapist and analyst about their jury deliberation experience. And where we haven't agreed on issues, we've done so with great courtesy. And so, j'espère bien qu'aujourd'hui on va.
And I hope today that we'll continue in that same spirit. There are many new people here today. Everyone is welcome.
Time when Canadians are watching us, and I think they're expecting to see a committee that functions very well. The issue that brought us here today, my opposition colleagues have asked for a special meeting to be held, which we happily have convened, to discuss a very serious issue before Canadians. Canadians are rightly concerned right now about the issues related to the former Attorney General. And definitely we, on our side as well, want to make sure that Canadians understand what has occurred. We were a little disappointed that the opposition went ahead and drafted a motion without consulting us or working with us, but I get that. That's the way politics works. We're hoping to find a consensual way to bring this subject to Canadians, and I'd like to ask my colleague, Mr. Boissonneau, to perhaps put forward something that I think will draw the consensus of everyone.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think that it's nice to see so many people here today taking an interest in Canada's justice system. I think it is clear, Mr. Chair, that there is concern among Canadians in terms of how we got to where we are today, and I also think it's clear that the Prime Minister has been very clear in his interactions, and I think the Justice Committee has a responsibility to reassure Canadians that our justice system is not only intact but robust, and that our government follows the rules, and that we take pride in doing so. And I think there is some concern on our side about the sub judice rule. That we have to be very careful as a Justice Committee to make sure that anything that we would undertake here as a committee would not affect any court proceedings related to SNC-Lavalin or any other parties who may be subject to court proceedings in the future. And so this motion today is designed to address the confidence of Canadians, to reassure them, and to shine a light on what remediation agreements are, what the Shaw-Cross doctrine is, and what the discussions were between the Office of the Attorney General and government colleagues. And so I believe, and my colleagues believe at this point, that this is an appropriate motion at this time, and you should have copies of the motion in both English and French that are being distributed. If not, then we will make sure that is done right now.
Have we gotten the French version yet?
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay, so Monica-Olivier, ici ce sont les versions anglaises.
Here we only have the English version, but we also need the French. And I'll
read the motion now, Mr. Chair.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. You don't have a copy yet? No. Okay, sorry. We will make sure copies are properly distributed in English and French. On va assurer que la version française.
We'll make sure that the French and the English versions are also distributed.
If I may, just while they're being distributed.
Absolutely, Mr. Collins.
Thank you for your introduction. And just on this small point, I think you raised some concern that the motion that was brought by ourselves and the Conservatives was brought without consultation. I think the same concern could be brought to the motion that we're about to read now. So if we're being consistent in terms of what we're doing here today, I'd just like to understand how you imagine going through this, because I believe and I'll refer through you to the clerk, the order of precedence in which the motions were submitted the committee is it not obligated to deal with the motion as it first gave notice? Because we're only getting this motion seconds ago as Mr. Boissonnault has introduced it with no time to reference it. We have a motion that has been tabled by the opposition that is also due consideration and shouldn't be replaced.
So thank you very much, Mr. Collin. My understanding is that whoever's recognized first can put forward the motion, that the request was to have a meeting which we have convened. The goal here was not to be in any way non-consensual. If we get to talking about the motion, the goal was to actually be consensual and try to work together to come up with the appropriate timetable and witness list and everything else. So the motion is appropriately put forward. Est-ce que la version française a été distribuée?
Has the French version been distributed? Only in French? There are no English versions that have been distributed?
To read it into the record, and then we'll be happy to entertain any questions at all, either on procedure or the substance of the motion and debate. And then, of course, as the opposition knows, if this motion is amended or refused, then that other motion can be put forward 100%. It's not out of order in any way. Mr. Collin, did you?
I wanted to be put on the speaker's list for once Mr. Boissonnault had read the motion.
Of course. I have 3 people now. I have 4 people. Sorry. I have 4 people now. We will get everybody on the speaker's list. So I have Mr. Collin, then Mr. Fraser, then Ms. Raitt, then Mr. Cooper. Yeah, no, the first is Mr. Boissonnault still has the floor to deliver the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That the Justice and Human Rights Committee hold meetings to examine remediation agreements, the Shawcross Doctrine, and the discussions between the Office of the Attorney General and government colleagues, and that the witness list include, but not be limited to, Minister of Justice and Attorney General Honourable David Lametti, Deputy Minister of Justice and Deputy Attorney General Nathalie Drouin, Clerk of the Privy Council Michael Warnick, and that the committee meet in camera on Tuesday, February 19th, 2019, at a time set by the Chair to discuss obtaining a legal opinion on the sub judice rule, potential additional witnesses, and a timeline for the meetings. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Boissonnault.